Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Well, hello, Aki.
And hello, Stevie.
Hello. We are back from winter break. For more disco. For more disco.
Winter break. We're back.
Yeah.
It was great.
And there's some sort of sports bowl thing that, they paused things for. I don't know. I don't know what the sports bowl thing is.
I mean, it's happening today, so I don't know why they would have paused it anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe
but we carry on.
I don't know when it actually is supposed to happen anyway, so.
No.
Yes, and welcome in listeners who, yes, you've also been on your own winter breaking, but season 4 of Star Trek Discovery is back, and I believe we have another 5 episodes or so. I think it's 13 in total.
Yeah. Was it 14 maybe? Or no, 13.
Oh, maybe it's 14. Well, this was episode 8, so either we have...
Yeah.
5 more episodes or 6 more episodes. Who knows?
Well, actually, hang on. So Picard kicks off March 13th, was it?
I mean, you want me to look in my calendar?
You want to Google that?
I don't have to Google it. It's in my Google Calendar. I mean, I guess technically I'm Googling it. March 3rd.
March 3rd. Okay, so you're probably right, because they wouldn't do overlaps.
You would think not.
You would think not.
But who knows? Un deux, trois, quatre.
Well, we will just keep making all of the recaps.
We're going to keep
for you,
recapping.
Dear listener.
I'll be alternately in different places in Brooklyn or around the country.
And I will be right here, ready and waiting.
Ready and waiting. So why don't we listen? It's Set Phasers, intro stardate 148213.2. We're talking about season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, which has just resumed. We're starting with episode 8 entitled All In. But before we jump into the episode, we should get a little preamble business out of the way. First and foremost, you're listening to a highly illogical Star Trek podcast. And secondly, if you dare, if you have the gumption, you can support this podcast by going to our patreon.com/setphasers and signing up for one of our various tiers. You get some membership, I don't know what the word is. Benefits?
Yes, benefits. You can be an ensign, a lieutenant, or a commander.
Or a commander.
Yeah, and those benefits include things like, watch parties with us. I think we might even do a monthly Zoom ahead of our Netflix watch parties soon. That's something we are going to do very, very shortly. And of course, if you want to just rate and subscribe the podcast if you like it, that would be wonderful too. Wherever you get your podcasts, please go rate and subscribe and become a patron and join us for all the Star Trek fun. We would love to have you on board. See what I did there?
Wow. Yeah. Yes, I did.
Great.
Followed by the noise, in fact.
The winky. Oh, it was in place of a wink.
Yes, it was
an
the sound
audio
effect
wink.
for wink. I think we all got that you were winking there, and I don't know. I mean, you know what? Jury's still out on that, but the jury is not out on whether or not the second part of season 4 starts with a bang. It sure does. So why don't we just run it down? It's time to run it down. Can you run it down for me? What just happened? Can you run it down for me?
What an episode, Aki. Let's run it down.
What an episode. Well, listen, quick recap. Basically, there's been this giant dark matter anomaly that's been eating its way through Federation space. It destroyed the planet Quajan, which led to Book being like the last Quajani sort of wandering around. He's very distraught. He seems to be working on things with Counselor Culber on Discovery and like kind of working through his issues, but he's definitely still has been in this kind of state of like remorse slash hyper, sort of vengeful desire. And in the meantime, Discovery and the Federation are trying to figure out what's going on with this dark matter anomaly. They're rushing around. Things are happening. Also, the Federation is trying to rebuild after so many years of not being the Federation. So it's like this is a challenge that could tear things apart. And as we got to the end of the first half of season 2, basically every Federation member world and every world sort of connected, either in the Federation or thinking about it, or just sort of recently having been reached out to for diplomatic ties, got together at Federation HQ. President Relic was like, we got to come to a decision what we're going to do with the DMA. Two major things sort of rose out of the debate. It was either one, try to initiate first contact and see if these were acts of deliberate harm, and if this species is incredibly more advanced than we could ever hope to be, or B, just try to destroy the dark matter object. Obviously, the powers that be in the Federation are more for the first contact option, which, then if things go south, at the very least, they stuck to their guns. But Book is seduced by brilliant scientist Ruon Tarka, who's the one that used to work for the Chain, now is working for the Federation, was brought in by Admiral Vance, and he's helping to design the next generation spore drive based on Discovery spore drive. And he's been gunning for let's blow this thing up using an isolytic explosion, which is of course illegal, but it's the only thing they have that could do this destruction. It comes down to a vote. Michael is able to persuade more than half of the people to go along with the idea of first contact. And so Ruon Tarka and Book take matters into their own hands. They steal the next generation spore drive, they bring it to Book's ship, and they jump away to try and enact Ruon's plan. And oh boy, that is where we left off in months and months. It seems like years ago. So we begin with Book.
It was last year.
It was last year. Well, sure. Book and Tarka take off on the ship. Admiral Vance is prowling through the command center. He's yelling at everybody. He's like, how could this have happened? Tarka stole the next generation spore drive, but don't you need dual factor authorization to get it? He did have dual factor authorization because he used his code and Vance's code. So this was stolen right out from under Vance's nose. President Rillick brings Vance and Michael into her office to chew them both out. I had some issues with this, but we can talk about that in the chat section. Anyway, she's worried that this failure to control their own asset, the spore drive, as well as one of their people, Ruon Tarka, is going to erode trust in the Federation. There's a whole lore dump that she gives that basically sums up what I just did. And they need to find these guys and bring them in so that they can do the first contact thing that they fought so hard to come up with. Michael suggests that in order to make an isolytic explosion, Tark is going to need isolynium in order to make his bomb, which is very tricky to get on the black market. There are apparently 4 vendors that the Federation knows about that are able to procure isolynium. Michael wants to be on the case, but Rillick says she's too close because of her whole thing with Book, and so they send 4 other ships to check out these vendors and try to hunt down Book. And Relic tells Michael Discovery's job is to gather data on species 10C. Meanwhile, Tarka and Book are on Book's ship, and they're talking about how it goes. Tarka's making his usual small talk, which is, how sweet is the stuff that I made? Do you like it? Am I the best? Am I super, super smart? Book is feeling moody because, yes, he's betrayed everyone he knows, but he feels strongly that this is the only way to save more lives. Tarka says he only needs 24 hours to make his isolytic bomb, but he'll need Book to get the isolynium for him. And Book says he knows a place that maybe the Federation won't know about where they can get some isolynium, but it'll cost. Michael, meanwhile, on Disco, sort of contemplating what's going on here. She gets a visit from Admiral Vance. He basically comes in and says, I met Ruon Tarka 10 years ago. I was swept up in his brilliance and his optimism for the future, and I can't believe that someone I brought into the fold is endangering the Federation like this. He says, listen, I can't go against President Rillick in public. We have to seem to be on a united front. But he asks Michael to do anything that she can to stop Booker and Tarka within the parameters of her mission. A good thing Michael's super duper clever. Michael sits down and has a conversation. Well, they stand. Michael stands up and has a conversation with Paul Stamets and Saru, and they discuss what they found at the coordinates that they finally got from Zora, the now sentient species computer on Disco, at the coordinates for the species 10C. And not much. There's not a lot of information coming out of there. It's just like a big space in the middle of there. But there's some indication of massive gravitational presence. Zora does have some sphere data. The sphere data, I don't know if people want to go back that far, but hey, in season 2, there was a sphere that Discovery ran into that was like 100,000 years old and had just been collecting data. And she's got records of a civilization 30 light years from those coordinates, the Stilf. Just inside the galactic barrier. They have no diplomatic relations with the Federation. However, they have dealt with the Orions. And so Michael's like, well, I got a broker friend on Parathia that could probably get us some star maps from the Stilf so that we can see what's going on in there. As she and Saru leave, Saru asks about the legality of Michael reaching out to this broker friend of hers. He knows it's probably from her courier days. And Michael tells Saru basically how Vance asked her to ordered her unofficially ordered, whatever that means, to try and take care of both things at the same time while staying within the rules of her mission. And Michael says she's going to take Owosekun on the mission with her to get these these star surveys. Meanwhile, Book and Tarka arrive at Book's connect that he has, Mazaro's Karma Barge. It's like a boat on a planet. That's a casino. Sure, I'll take it. And I love a little internal rhyme for no reason. Book says he left Mazaro not on the best of terms, but he says, listen, Haas is fun until he's not. Let me take the lead. As long as he doesn't remember what our issue was, maybe this will be fine. We just need to throw some money at him, get this isolynium, get out of here. He walks up, introduces himself as, quote, Glowworm, and Haas comes right out. He's in a great mood. He's chopping it up with Book. He's like, hey, where's Michael? What's going on with you guys? They ask Haas for some isolynium. Haas is like, listen, I have access, but it's going to cost you way more than the money that you put down. They put down even more money. Haas takes the money and then says, you know what? Actually, I haven't forgotten about that debt you owe me for ruining my transworm courier business, which is how we met Book in the first place at the beginning of season 3. And he says, so I'm just going to take you guys into custody. But then Book says, hey, I saw that out there. You're looking for crooks and cheats and people are cheating you on in your casino card counters and so forth. And Haas says, well, the detection tech is not working on them. Book says, hey, me and Tarka, we're pretty smart. We could maybe figure out a way to do it. And if we do find some cheats, then you give us the isolynium, you keep the latinum that you took, and we have a deal. And Haas says, sure, we have a deal. And he says, quote, but jab a Brussels fly and I'll scoot some green bread. That has not been explained, and I don't know if I ever want it to be. Meanwhile, Owo and Michael also are heading to turns out the courier, the broker she had on Parathia is the same place. I guess this is the planet of Parathia, and it's Mazaro's Karma Barge. So O is sort of wondering why Michael brought her. Michael says she sort of understands what O is going through, the desire to do something in the face of not being able to do much about this sort of huge issue. They get to the Karma Barge. Oh, God. Karma Barge?
Karma Barge.
Karma Barge. Killer
Karma
Romulan
Barge.
warrior nuns.
I couldn't
Karma
even say
Barge.
it the first time.
Karma Barge. Karma Barge. Karma Barge. Captain, permission to Karma Barge. Michael introduces herself as, quote, Right Hook. Meets Haas. He's delighted to see her too. Asks for these extra-galactic surveys from the Stilf. He says he can probably find it. Michael's money's not enough, but she offers him some sort of ring that he's like, hey, have whatever you want. And then Michael's like, well, then maybe you could throw some isolynium at us. And Haas says, well, there's other bidders. That's interesting. He says, why don't you play for a while and try to, get your money up, so to speak, while I go and get these surveys and we'll see what we do about this isolynium. Book and Tarka are looking for cheats, and Book spots a sort of alien that's using its eyes rhythmically, perhaps to send a signal, perhaps as a tell, who knows. Tarka takes off after that dude. Michael finds Book and says they need to talk, tries to convince Book that they that doing this thing with Tarka is going to cause more problems than it is going to solve. But Book believes that he's on a righteous mission. Just like when he stole the transworms, he's willing to do the wrong thing to do what he thinks is the right thing. And he's surprised that Michael is surprised that he's gone along with Tarka's plan. Mike says if Book buys this isolynium, he will be crossing a line, and she promises she will stop him from getting it. Haas is saying that the stellar surveys will take time to Michael, and Michael's asking what does she need to give Haas in order to have him take the isolynium out of play. He says 3 times the latinum that you've given me. And Michael's like, great, I just need to contact the Federation. I can get that money here. He's like, no, I don't want Federation jumping down my throat. You got this casino here. Why don't you try to triple your money while I try to get these things? And Owo has an idea. Meanwhile, a brief little aside on Disco. Remember that Dr. Hugh Culber has been sort of under the gun, under the pressure, not only with dealing with Book and obviously the DMA, but also the whole situation with Zora and how to deal with the ship's consciousness, and has been feeling a lot of stress, and was told by Dr. Kovich that he needed to take some time for himself. He needed to find something that was worthwhile to do, that was beyond his work. Otherwise, he was going to burn out. And it looks like he's very close to burning out. He is hand cleaning the quarters, his and Stamets' quarters, and yelling at the drone that's trying to help, and says he needs to do it by hand. And Hugh has to, Paul Stamets has to get Hugh to sit down and think for a bit. And he's like, listen, I know we're all anxious. It's not your fault what Book did. You know, you can only help him find the way back to healing. You can't fix what's wrong. You can't fix his problems for him. You need to take some time for yourself. I heard about this great holodeck program. It's some sort of blooming alien flower. Why don't we take a walk? Culver's like, you know what, that would be nice. He and Stamets leave, and the little drone comes out from hiding and resumes cleaning the quarters as it is done. Back on back on has Mazaro's Karma Barge. Back on has Mazaro's Karma Barge. Meanwhile, back on has Karma. I'm done saying that, I think. Back on the casino, Owo has decided what her crazy idea is. She steps into the fighting ring, and she's fighting some big bad dude named Atto Kurt. He's like twice her size, and he's obviously the clear champion. Michael is being her like Barker / I don't know,
hype person.
Kind of like Mick in Rocky, basically. Like not only the coach, but also, I don't know, just like keep your feet down and keep your hands up and you can watch out. But she's introduces Joan Owosekun as
Joanne. Oh wow. Owosekun.
2-to-1 odds. And Owo immediately gets completely thrown to the floor by this huge giant of a person. She wants to take another shot. That's a 10-to-1 odds. While that's happening, Book is worried that Michael's going to find a way to buy this isolynium out from under him and Tarka. Tarka is not worried about Michael because things are going so bad in the ring. He's working the cheaters angle because he thinks that'll get them the isolynium they need as quickly as possible. They find that person that they sort of had like a I would get insectoid eyes with a nictating membrane that was going back and forth. And they follow them for a bit, and this person turns into someone else after walking past a column, and they realize it's a changeling. Ha ha ha. That's how it's like, you know, working all the angles. It's being different people. So Tarka tells Book to watch the changeling while he works a different angle to try and keep this changeling in check. Owo's been losing a ton. She's like cut up. She's beat up, down on one knee, breathing heavy, blood. And Michael's like, we got to get out of here. You can't do it. You can't go on, oh wow. And she says, give me one more chance. You're not going to take me out of the ring. And Michael says, fine, one last time, but that's it. And we're going all in. And puts all the money down on Owo. And then Owo steps back up to Atto Kurt. And we realize, they got hustled because Owo was like, look, I could have beaten you the whole time. And proceeds to trounce this dude, completely beat the ever-loving crap out of him. And so they win. And I think the odds at that point, I wrote it down, were 45-1. So they clearly made a ton of money, which should allow them to be able to buy the isolynium. As they're going to collect their money, they are accosted by Atto Kurt and his slimy corner guy, and a little bit of a fight almost breaks out. But Book steps up when the guy produces a knife and punches the guy, and then Michael punches him again and knocks him out. And Book's like, hey, I was happy to help. They have like a little friendly moment, and then Book's like, hey, I could use your help, because they find the changeling and the changelings start running, and then Michael helps him knock down the changeling. So they both helped each other, but they both sabotaged each other because they both did what they needed to do for Mazaro. And so the next scene is them arguing in the ship with Mazaro, being like, we did the thing. You should give it to us. No, you should give it to the thing. You did the thing. Haz says, hey, listen, y'all both did what you did, but there's other bidders now. I got 2 other bidders and 2 other people come in. He's like, so what we're going to do is play for this isolynium. We're going to play a couple hands, a Leonian poker. It's just poker, it looks like. And the cards look like normal cards. I couldn't tell if there was anything special about Leonian poker. They had straights and flushes. I don't know. Anyway, the winner will get the isolynium, and Haz will take all of their latinum no matter what. And Michael proposes, okay, if we're going to do this, but at such high stakes, shouldn't we get to examine the quality of the goods? To which Haz agrees. The 2 other strangers go in to check it out first. Michael approaches Book and says, you know who those 2 are? They're Emerald Chain dropouts, lackeys. We can't let them get the isolynium. They're going to try to be the next Osira. And so we should do that thing that we did on that planet that one time, us and our shenanigans, because we can make the odds work in our favor. And Book is better at the card game than her, but she says he's not a sure bet. They got to work together to make sure the Emerald Chain doesn't get the isolynium no matter what. Then they can return back to their fighting. So they do that. Michael goes to take a look at the isolynium, claps eyes on it, tells Haz it's completely legit. They go to play some Leonian poker. Michael is acting sort of like a more garrulous and sort of roguish than usual. Book is being very tight-lipped, but they're obviously sending signs and signals back to each other. They manage to knock out the other 2 players until it's just them. While that is happening, Owo and Tarka have a bit of a conversation, and Owo sort of figures out Tarka's angle, that there's some sort of revenge or vengeance or grief, sort of catharsis plot going on here, and that's why he's so attached to this plan. So both he and Book are both going through some really heavy stuff and using billions and billions of lives to to solve their problems. Michael versus Book. Book wins. He apologizes. He takes the isolynium. He and Tarka get on their ship, and they fly right on out of there. Michael returns back to Starfleet headquarters. She gets reamed out by President Rillick again, but mentions to say, like, hey, listen, I went there to get these star charts for that place where Species 10C is, and I hoped to see Book there, but I wasn't sure about it, and I did my best, but I, had no jurisdiction there. And President Rillick's like, yeah, you literally bet it all, and you came back with nothing. And Michael goes, oh, but did I? Because when I looked at that isolynium, guess what? I put a tracker on it, just like the dilithium trackers we used in the beginning of Season 4 when we were having dilithium problems. It all comes together. So they know exactly where the isolynium is. They know where Book is. And Vance says we have one chance to try and surprise them, to stop them from doing this. So that's what they're going to do next. They're interrupted by a message from Saru, who says Stamets has something very important to show the Admiral. They have found the star charts and the data. They put it together, and what they have discovered is a huge blob in space, a huge artificial blob that is 228 million kilometers in radius, big enough to basically hold a sun and a couple of planets. And it's some sort of Faraday cage, which is a thing that I think it holds energy in. It's like nothing can escape a Faraday cage, so there's no way to detect what's inside of the big blob. But it indicates that there must be a massive amount of energy to do this, and also that Species 10C is wildly more advanced than the Federation, even more than we had previously imagined. However, this does allow Michael to come up with the supposition that, okay, it takes a lot of energy to maintain this huge blob. Why don't we search the DMA locations for any signs of boronite? What's boronite, the president asked. Well, it's just a very rarely occurring substance in the universe that, while it is hard to find, when you do find it, you can use it to make some of the most powerful stuff in the galaxy. And guess what? Zora confirms that at all the locations the DMA was at, there are 0 signs of boronite, meaning species 10C this whole time was mining for boronite inside the galaxy. And that's what they're doing. This confirms that Booker and Tarka must be stopped, because if that's how they mine, like if that's how they sift for gold, our version of putting a pan with a screen in a river and shaking it out, if that's how they do that, a huge, miles and miles long dark matter anomaly, then their weapons must be completely out of control. And so they're going to have to stop Booker and Tarka, because there's no way their little isolytic explosion is going to do much to species 10C. And that is the end of episode 8, season 4, Star Trek Discovery, All In. Now, why don't we chat about that?
I say, darling, let's do a quick chat about that.
Yes, let's do.
Indeed.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Mazaro's Karma Barge.
Oh, loved it.
Loved it.
It felt, there was a little bit of Star Warsy type feel to it.
Totes my goats. Yes.
But it was really fun, and I think it had a slightly lighter feel to it than the Star Wars seasons. But I really enjoyed it. I think when I watched it a second time and you saw all the different characters and aliens and stuff, it was quite fun.
Yeah, delightful. I loved, just getting out of Federation space and, boldly going where no one has gone before to Mazaro's Plaza Barge.
And didn't you love the entrance? You have to go into the mouth of the dragon type
dragon thing, and then suddenly you're
so
at
cool.
this floating casino. Yes, it was super cool. I also loved that even though Haas is kind of like, he's like a roguish kind of baddie, who's like running this possibly illegal, maybe just sort of like legally gray area, and he's got issues with Book and Michael, that he truly, and to use a parlance that the kids use these days, ships Book and Michael in like a very grandparenty sort of way. He's very much like,
you guys sort it out.
Are you sure you don't want to sort this out? I really love seeing you guys together. Well, where's Michael, by the way? Oh, how's she doing? What's going on with you two? He's very Yenta-ish. It's the only way I can describe it about these two former couriers. So anyway, I thought that was a very cute side of his character, that he's wheeling and dealing and also trying to facilitate a love connection.
Yeah, he was cute. I liked him.
Yeah. Obviously, Species 10C, I'm very excited to see who they are. Are they still alive? I mean, this is the level of technology we're talking about is insane. And obviously, I feel like we're going to end up with a climactic final reveal of who Species 10C is.
Do you think... Well, it can't be anyone we know. Or unless it's Q?
No. I think you and I both know that I think that it's What's-His-Tush from season 1.
What's-His-Tush from season 1? Who was What's-His-Tush from season 1?
Draco Malfoy. Lucius Malfoy. I can't remember his character name now.
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, yeah.
You think it's Jason Isaacs?
Yeah, I want it to be Jason Isaacs every time. Lorca. Yes, Lorca. I want it to be Lorca every time. It's definitely not, but, fingers crossed.
You just love Lorca.
I really did.
There are
perfect baddie.
Reams of women within the Star Trek disco community groups that are desperate for Lorca to return.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Some people, they adore him.
They are my people. I need to join these groups and pine
I know.
away.
I've been inviting you to these groups.
A little fan fiction. Well, you didn't tell me that romance was in the air.
Well, for you and Lorca.
Lorca and some money. Just a steamy, tall, dark, and handsome, brooding, alternate reality baddie with, who he wanted something, he wanted power, but he also did it in a You can't deny that he had swagger. Listen, I'll take Lorca over Ruon Tarka's smarmy.
Yeah.
I'm the best. I'm so smart. I'm so tortured.
Oh, he's the guy that you just wanted to shove in a locker at high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I was that guy, but who did I shove in a locker in high school?
Did you get swirlied? Is that a thing?
I mean, swirlies were a thing. It's not a thing that happened in my high school. I assume that's more of a smaller school kind of thing. It took so long. My school was 8 stories, had 5,000 kids. There was never a free toilet to swirly someone in, you know.
Fair. Understood.
Thank
you for the logistics of
just letting you know.
Swirlyism.
We had to be mortified in other ways by our bullies.
Anyway.
Yes. Okay. So
chat.
I don't know who is species 10C truly. You know, any thought? Do you have any thoughts on that? Any guesses? Like,
no,
is it someone we know, or is it something totally new?
It could be something true. I'm wondering whether it's some sort of new iteration of the Borg, or whether it's the Q. And that's just me thinking in terms of, like, inside the box of the species we already know and hate.
We do know that that Discovery mostly Discovery, has a tendency to mine old Star Trek to find these gems and sort of flesh them out. I just can't think of what it would be. I mean,
if it did, though, it would likely mine TOS and not anything next gen. That's my theory.
It's true, although they gave Gray their body from Picard at the very least.
That's true.
So it's like, I think they really try to find something obscure. Like, who knew about Captain Pike, the pilot episode of Star Trek before Discovery season 2?
Yeah.
Like, no one knew who Captain Pike was.
Well, I don't know, because they wrote him into the movies.
They did, but he wasn't. He was like Kirk's mentor. He was nobody. I mean, that was like a big deal in the movies, was like, oh no, they have Pike in, and that's sweet, man, Pike, because if you see the first Star Trek, actually Shatner's not there because this is Captain Pike, but then he got recast in the second episode of the first season.
Why are you doing it like bros?
That's how we talked in high school. That's why we got shoved into the lockers.
Those are the cool guys that talked in high school, wasn't it?
They talk like this?
Yeah, like totally, man. Those are like the surfer guys that never watch Star Trek.
It's a fine line between, yeah, dude, totally. See how chilled and relaxed this is? It's like, I'm super cool, bro. Come on out. We're having a party tonight. And
yeah, I got
actually,
a keg.
if you watch the first episode of Star Trek, the original series, which came out in 1962, it's a fine line.
Okay, that's fair.
You know,
now you're starting to sound like
cool.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like the guy in The Simpsons that owns a comic book store.
I mean, listen, in point of fact, I don't need to put on a nerd voice. We all know that unless I attempt to speak in my dulciter tones, I basically talk like this. This is how my actual voice is. So I could just speak like myself, but I'm putting on a little extra sauce. Right. And then, okay, so I have one final bone to pick. I have been, to my friends, sort of defending President Relic for the last 7 episodes, because I was like, yeah, she came in hot in the first episode. But I think she's come to depend on Michael and like give her a lot of leeway, even if it's sort of covert, to do things. But I fully did not understand what the benefit of blaming Michael for Book doing something bad just because they're like partners is at the beginning of the episode. It seems so very un-Federation. And then being like, I brought you in here to yell at you because you didn't know that your partner was going to do something bad. Like, you're supposed to know exactly what they're going to do. Like, that we knew Book was going to join up with Tarka and steal a spore drive. Because the real fault, you know, and I like Vance, is that Vance let Tarka steal the spore drive. Book wouldn't have been able to do anything without the spore drive.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just kind of was like, why are you chewing out Michael? And then telling her you can't be on the case looking for Book. So it's like, you should have known what your like romantic partner is going to do. And because you didn't see this, you put us in this terrible position where the Federation could completely lose the confidence of its member states, and you're not allowed to be in this mission. You're too close to it. I didn't like it. I felt like it was back to beating up Michael for, you know, being Michael.
Yeah, okay.
That was my feeling. The
only other thought I wanted to express was the fight scene with
Oh yeah, of course.
Owo. Like, loved it. I don't know why I wasn't expecting that from Owosekun, but it was brilliant.
I was fully expecting her, so I got fooled the other way. I thought was going to go in there, beat that guy up, then take out all the other comers, and that's how they're going to make money.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I just feel like, have we seen Owo fight before?
I don't think so. I couldn't remember where Owo as a fighter came from.
I don't know, but I was like, for some reason was like, yeah, Owo's going to mess this dude up. And I didn't suspect that, like, you know, they'd run this hustle on them where Owo got beaten up until the odds were good enough for them to make one big payday and just completely...
I don't think she hustled them, though. I think she was genuinely getting her ass kicked.
I don't think
and
that's
handed to
true.
her. Really?
No, that was a hustle. How do you go from getting your ass kicked to then kneeling down in front of somebody and not letting them touch you?
She just needed to be down to get back up again, you know?
I don't think that's the case. I think they knew they needed to make a certain amount of I think she and Michael were pretending that they were stressed out, so the odds would keep going up so they could make
I
one
bought
big
it.
payday. That was my thought.
I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
I guess it's never explicitly said except that they go, "You hustled us." You know, I don't know.
All right. Well, did you know? I mean, I think I'd even forgotten her first name was Joanne.
I definitely had forgotten her first. I go intermittently because I write down the names every time I have someone in the episode, and I forget the last time I had to write down Joanne Owosekun's first name.
Same.
She's just Owo to me. So,
All right.
you know, it happens. I couldn't tell you Detmer's first name right now, but if we do an episode about Detmer, it'll definitely come back to me. Can you follow it?
No.
Yeah, I don't. Detmer.
Do you want to Google it?
Yeah.
You can Google that.
Oh, it's giving me the actress. I just want to her name. Kayla.
Kayla
Kayla
Detmer.
Totes.
Totes my goats.
Totes my goats. Lieutenant Kayla Detmer.
All right. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to quotable moments.
Quotable moments.
I only have a few this time. There was a lot of sweet action, but
Yeah, I didn't have a lot. I just had. I just really enjoyed Michael being the hype person.
that was very funny.
That was just fun. But it wasn't super quotable. Just Joanne.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Owosekun, and like
Yeah.
the place your bets, and what was
There was something that rhymed
place your
about
bets or miss your bets or something like that.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
whatever it
Or
was,
your-
it was
your
so cheesy.
regrets or
Yeah,
something like that.
that.
was very funny to me.
Bet it or regret it.
Bet it or
Was that
regret it.
it?
It could be. I didn't write that one down. I did love Haas had a few stunners for me. Obviously the weird threat that he was gonna scoot some green bread. I don't even know what that means, but I guess it was supposed to be threatening. I loved when he saw Michael for the first time. He said, "I miss you like a Cardassian misses cake." I thought that was very cute. Oh yeah, Haas says, "But why would you want pictures of stars?" And Michael says, "Stars are pretty." I thought that was that banter. Yeah. She was like back into her courier mode of talking slick. I liked Tarka had one line that I really enjoyed. He says, "Pardon me if I mispronounce this, but you were right." I thought that was a stunningly, well executed, something Tarka would say. I never say you were right, but so pardon me.
Pardon me if I mispronounced that.
That was about it.
Say that to my wife. Yeah, all right.
I might put a big banner up in my room that says "My raft, my rules." Another Haas quote, but I don't know who that would be for. Just me. Yeah, that's right. My raft, my rules. Yeah, I guess if those you don't have any of the quotes, we should just go on to next time.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Oh, yeah, next time. On Set Phasers, we'll be talking about episode 9 of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery as we come to our explosive conclusion, I presume, of this episode somewhere out beyond the galactic rim. So please do join us, and thank you for joining us today. If you enjoy the program, you can go back and catch and find old episodes of our podcast, or you can get it every Monday wherever you get podcasts from. And if you enjoy it enough to rate it on like say like I don't know, Apple Podcasts or something, that would be wonderful.
Indeed. Please also consider joining us to be a patron of us. We'll start that again. Please consider joining us as a patron of our community. We would love to have you. We've got a number of patrons who just love Star Trek, love to chat about it with us and watch it in a Netflix watch party and just hang out with us in general. So we would love to see you. Go to patreon.com/setphasers to join up.
Yes, indeed. And
Sign up.
Join up, stand up for your rights. And we're on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at Set Phasers on Instagram, and I believe Set Phasers Podcast on Facebook. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Feel free to follow us, join in the conversation of all things Trek, and Meme Game Strong. Stevie's out there making dope shit. Hashtag Meme Game Strong.
Well, until next time, I am Stevie Mans.
And I am sailing away on Mazaro's Karma Barge. And this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.